I hope everyone's enjoying themselves, looking at the exhibits, mingling with our sponsors. I want to give a big warm welcome to everyone to attend the second annual Guild New Hampshire Woodworkers Woodworking Competition. Last year when we started this, we didn't think we'd have, but maybe, I don't know, 100 people show up and 50 entries. And I kind of felt that way a couple months ago here for this year as well. But we actually broke our record of last year. We have 142 entries this year. And what's really amazing is that 64 of those entries are from our student population, which is really terrific. So much so that we had to break it into 4 categories. We have a group of elementary school students. We have a group of middle school students, high school students, and college and post-high school students. So it's really a testament to the youth becoming, experienced and accustomed. We're working with wood, learning new techniques, and making things, which is really terrific. And we look forward to that continuation and broadening out and deepening our relationships with the student population. So we have actually some new schools that joined us this year, which is terrific. But what I want to do is just, I want to recognize the teachers of these students because of the hard work that they do and the commitment they've made and how they've encouraged and motivated their students to enter pieces into this exhibition. So from Hopkins School from New Haven, Connecticut, drove all the way up here, is Mr. Saylor. From Lincoln Sudbury Regional High in Sudbury, Mass. is Paul Schultz. Hull High School in Hull, Mass., which is a little island in Boston Harbor, if you didn't know that, is Derek Scapers. Our own Gary Canning is tutoring a homeschool student. So let's give applause for Gary Canning. Leah Woods, who you'll be able to meet next, heads up the woodworking program at UNH, and she has gotten a number of her students to enter the competition. So thank you, Leah. A new school to the competition from Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols in Cambridge, Mass., Anna Van Voorhis. So she's got several students with really remarkable pieces entered. Jason Sukup homeschools his 2 sons. I don't know if you saw the carvings that are over there that he taught his sons. One's 8 years old, the other's 11 years old. Really beautiful work. Dave Schillinger from Mascoma High School. Patty Ryan from Marshfield High School in Marshfield, Mass. Roger Myers, furniture master, is tutoring one of his students who goes to Seabury Waldorf School. Thank you, Roger. And our own Phil Carl, who is kind of taking the reins of collecting the school teachers and organizing that program, and he has a lot of his students involved in the program. Thank you, Phil. And a new teacher. She started this year as a math teacher. She was walking down the hall, saw a room that was filled with old woodworking equipment and rusty tools and said we could have a woodworking program here, but we don't have anything to work with it. So she reached out to the Guild, and we set her up with some scroll saws, a bunch of tools, and a bunch of people that went out there and taught her how to use some of the equipment, taught her kids how to work with tools, and literally spend a lot of time helping those kids get ready for this exhibition. So thank you, Kate Evans. That's, by the way, from Franklin Middle School, if I forgot to mention that. I want to thank the volunteers who, if they didn't work hard, and we started this process about a year ago, meeting every 2 weeks and then eventually meeting once a week, and people worked hard to develop relationships with our sponsors and to get materials ready, and it took us a while to find this space. I don't know if you were here with us last year, but we were at the Discovery Center, which was great for first time, but we had no idea we were going to have that many people. And if you just bear with me a second, just to make people feel at home, we're about to roll in Alan Shepard's test pilot plane and just put it in the middle of so everyone would feel comfortable underneath the wings. You had to be there to get that joke. Anyway, a much more viable space for us. We did have a little issue with parking, but I think hopefully we work those issues out, and we'll figure out how to better that situation next year. Okay, but we did have a lot of volunteers that help here, and I really can't name them all, but maybe I will at some point. But thank you very much. But the guy you really ought to thank, he's my master of logistics, Steve Costain, who you say, Steve, we've got a problem, and it's solved. There's no issue, whether it has to do with metal, wood, or even now he's building a rock lathe, if you can believe that, right out of the Flintstone era. So thank you, Steve. I want to thank our judges, our Furniture Master judges, for spending a lot of time today going over every piece and judging them, and you'll get introduced to them a little later. Our keynote speakers, Al Breed and Pete Galbert, were really thankful that they could take the time to speak with us about their passion. And Tom McLaughlin, everyone knows Tom, and we'll get introduced to him in a minute. So as a guild, we like to say we teach, and we serve. And we serve our members, and we serve our community. So just a few examples how we've been serving our community this year. We've really been working hard at that. And some folks have been just, working, more than they really should on any one thing just to help our community and reach out. The first is really our Guild in Schools program, which officially is launched. But if you ask John Siegel, who tried to launch it maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, he still won't admit that it's launched. I think he's a little bashful about it, but he's done a great job. He has a couple of helpers, Jack Ruby and Doug Fink, who've been helping put the program together. The Franklin Middle School is our pilot program where we go in and help the students. We teach the teachers, we repair equipment, teach them how to repair equipment, and do demonstrations and teach the kids. It's really a terrific program. Canterbury Shaker Village. People have probably been there, at least you're familiar with it, but they had this old gate that fell apart. So we took it upon ourselves to find the timber for it, to mill it down, to fit it, and it's a project that's going very well. This is led by Mike DiMaggio. You'll hear his name a lot tonight. But Mike, along with David Picard, Joe Sarna, Claude Dupuis, Bill Emerson, Claude Cloutier, Stan Paris, John Fick, Mike DiMaggio, of course, and Carl Mosky. And Carl Mosky is special because he's new to the Guild, he's our new treasurer, and he has this business in Henniker, New Hampshire. He's got this big thing, this big building, and it's got a vacuum kiln in there, and he's got this super duper leveling machine, which is actually just a huge planer, I think. It really does double duty on leveling planks, and he's going through the process of harvesting wood on his property, which he inherited from his grandfather. It's a beautiful property, and he's selling slabs. And if anybody needs their slabs flattened or needs a slab, go see Carl. But he helped us mill those poles and get them to the right shape and fit them well. So thank you, Carl. For the Franklin Middle School, David Picard, Jim Wood, and Mike DiMaggio is spending a lot of time with those students getting their projects ready. We call it, I guess, the Joel Paul Project. Joel, who's here tonight. Thanks for coming, Joel. If you're not familiar with Joel's story, he had an unfortunate accident earlier this year and a miraculous recovery. He's a green woodworker, a very talented woodworker. He had a couple apartments on his property which needed finishing, and he wanted to give back to the nursing staff that helped him tremendously in the Portsmouth area. So we had a couple of people led by Michael Hearn, Mike DiMaggio, and Paul DiCarlo, who went in there, pretty much finished 2 apartments up, all the finishing work, floor work, cabinet work, so that he could rent it and support his mom, as well as provide living quarters for traveling nurses coming to this area. So it's really terrific. Thank you for that. And last is a project run by Rick Mangiello, who heads up our Granite State wood turning subgroup. They actually turn wig stands, and in combination with the Pink Revolution in New Hampshire and Amanda Thomas Wig Boutique, distribute these wigs free to cancer patients who are in the need. We get a lot of help from turners in our group. We get help from the art department at Merrimack High School, and we get help from our carving group. So examples of them are back there, and Rick can talk to you all night about the project itself, so please go and talk to him and learn more about what we're doing there. So, with that, I want to give a big thank you to our sponsors. So, one of our marquee sponsors, Michael J. DiMaggio, not to be confused with Mike DiMaggio. This is Mike's son. Has been a benefactor for the Guild for a couple of years now, really very generous, and he's taught by the person who taught him how to be that way. Where is he? There's Mike. Okay. Goose Bay Lumber, if you haven't used them, if you're not familiar with them, you should go to Chichester and partake in their products. A great selection of domestic and exotic woods. They also have some beautiful bowl blanks and turning blanks to use, and a very tight-knit, family-run organization. They're very helpful, and they go out of the way to provide great service for you. Highland Hardwoods, another partner. Okay. And if you haven't been to Highland, besides all the great wood they have, both domestic and exotic, they have stocked up now on their dealers for woodpecker. They're dealers for Tormek. They're dealers for Festool. They're dealers for the chisels, Narex, full line of Narex tools, and Tight Bond adhesives. So go check them out if you haven't been there in a while. Great partners. Reliable Insurance Solutions, they are new to our organization. You guys, if you have to insure your tools, what you told your wife you paid for them, you're in really bad shape. So you should really talk to these guys. They could give you some advice on how to insure not only your tools, but yourself and your shop and your home and whatever else. And I believe they're here, and you can talk to them, have a conversation about any of your insurance needs. Freud, a really great sponsor. They're over in the corner, and they have donated, I think it was a total of 15 tools, which will be given away during the competition. So thank you very much for that. Certainly Wood. I don't know if any of you guys do veneer work or anything like that, or banding, but Certainly Wood are the go-to supplier for that. And they actually traveled here from New York, and they're here tonight over there. So please go talk to them. Ben Morton. Ben is married to Mike's daughter, Kate Morton. So thank you very much. And they are return sponsors, and we're very thankful to them. The Vintage Tool Shop over here, Eric and Joyce, have a terrific collection of tools, and you don't just go in to buy a tool there. You develop a relationship with both of them, because if they really like you, they invite you into the kitchen, and you watch Joyce bake and just chew the fat for a while. It's really a great organization, great little company, if you have the chance to go there. If not, buy online. You'll get it in a day or two. Bits and Bits is a company out in Oregon. They sell a lot of bits, a lot of router bits, and they have given 6 gift certificates to us to give out this competition. So we're very thankful for them. That's the second year in a row they've sponsored us. If you haven't been to Sanborn Mills Farm to check out the classes they give and just the farm itself and learn anything from them, you're certainly missing a lot. So if you get a chance, look at their classes online. They've kind of wound down for this year, but they'll be posting new classes in the spring and the fall and the summer. Really good opportunity to get some great training. If you happen to have a team of oxen, they'll show you how to run them. So, Rycon, for the second year in a row, has donated a Rycon MIDI lathe. So we're really appreciative of that, and great sponsors for the organization. Franklin International, aka Tight Bond, they are a big sponsor of the event. We thank them, and they were a return sponsor. Ridge Carbide has donated several saw blades, and they'll be given away as prizes, so thank you, Ridge Carbide. Teresa Matra, another daughter of Mike DiMaggio. You getting the theme? Picking up a theme here at all? What a wonderful family, right? We're really very, very thankful for the entire DiMaggio family. Can't say enough about them. Stan and Kelly Paris, also very generous donors to the competition. Thank you. Al Mitchell Homestead Woodworking School. DMG Hardwoods, who they sell some really incredible exotic woods from South America. And they have also a flattening system there, and they sell a lot of slabs. And I'd never seen it before, but they have logs of cocobolo. You know, all I've ever seen are little blanks of cocobolo. They have logs of them. So if you're into cocobolo, that's the place to go. Fordham has donated once again one of their power carving tools. And if you're into carving, it really makes quick work of anything you're doing. We have a financial services firm that joined us, and they're now part of UBS. And if any of your financial needs, you can talk to them about it, and they'd really appreciate it. SawStop has given us their new miter gauge, revolutionary miter gauge, which it's about time a saw company came out with a decent miter gauge, right? So anyway, that'll be given away as part of one of our prizes. Heritage Natural Finishes, we ran into them at the old barn show back in January, and the woman who runs the company is very lovely, and she donated a lot of demo kits and a couple of gift certificates of their natural finishes. So really good relationship. And of course, Lee Nielsen is back once again. Deneb was going to come tonight, but his daughter's team won her soccer match, so they continue in the tournament. So he had to go to the soccer match, so we forgive him. But he did donate a number 62 low-angle block plane, which is terrific. Roar Rocket's been a sponsor for a couple of years. If you're not familiar with Roar Rocket, it's a really great way to get into vacuum pressing. They have donated a kit that makes 2 skateboards along with a vacuum bag. So if you're into that, I thought, well, maybe I'd try that. But then I thought, no, I wouldn't do that. I wound up killing myself. But anyway, thank you for Roar Rocket. Cincinnati Surgical makes these precision scalpels and all these tools used for fine work with cutting marquetry or veneers or anything like that. And they gave us a whole kit to give away. And Woodworks at Lakeside Farm, that's Carl Moske I mentioned before. That's his business up in Henniker, New Hampshire. FW Web Company, they donated a few Milwaukee tools, which we'll be giving away tonight. Really appreciate that. And Duluth Trading Company, who's actually son of one of our guild members, they graciously have donated, and they're sitting over there, and I think they got some giveaways, some freebies, so please partake in that. Everyone I talked to about Duluth and mentioned them says, oh yeah, they make great underwear. I have some of those. And then a couple of donors, McFeely's, who donated there's some polyurethane and this product called It's Not Shellac. If it's not shellac, I'm not sure what it is, but it's called It's Not Shellac. So we'll be giving that away. And Clockit, they donated 5 of these humidity meters, and they're magnetic. They stick on your shop wall. We're going to give that away as part of the 50-50 raffle. So the first ticket's to win half the pot. The next 5 tickets will be win one of each of these 5 humidity meters. So let me just continue here. So that's it for the sponsors. Thank you very much. Next person I'd like to introduce, Leah Woods. Leah is an artist working primarily with wood, building functional and non-functional objects. She received her MFA in woodworking and furniture design from Rochester Institute of Technology in 2000. She built one-of-a-kind furniture before transitioning to explore conceptual and sculptural objects. If you've ever seen anything that Leah's made, you know she puts her heart and soul in. I wouldn't call it woodworking or furniture, I call it sculpture, sculpting with wood. It's really some beautiful pieces. She's a member of the New Hampshire Furniture Masters and also associate professor of art at University of New Hampshire, where we are now sitting, where she teaches woodworking and furniture design classes. I'd just like Leah to come up and speak for a couple minutes.
Hi, everybody. So, as Elliot said, I run the woodworking and furniture design program here at UNH. I've been doing this since 2007. And hands down, the best part of my teaching job here was and continues to be watching the expression on students' faces when they get to a point where they've completed some piece of furniture and they look at a design and the construction and their labor all brought together into a piece of furniture and then stand back and have that expression on their face like, I did that? That's pretty cool. And that is evident in so much of the work that is here. There are 7 students, I'm very proud to say, from UNH that have work here. And I also want to thank Elliot and Steve and members of the Guild for the incredible amount of work they put into making this event happen. It's extremely exciting to see everybody here. I actually had a moment when I was walking into the room and I looked around and I saw everybody and I thought, oh my God, everybody's here because they know how awesome woodworking is. So thank you to everybody who is participating with work and everyone who has just come to be supportive of woodworking.
All right, thank you, Lee. And before we get on with the show, I just want to make one other presentation. You know, I mentioned his name several times tonight. Without him, I don't think the Guild, it's possible to run a Guild without someone like this. You saw his tremendous amount of generosity from his family. And that's just the way he is. He has more heart and soul than anybody I know. And it almost matches the amount of energy he has, because he's the definition, classic definition of a whirling dervish. This guy works so hard helping others that sometimes he forgets he's got to get a few things done for himself. So, in fact, he worked so hard with the Franklin Middle School, he couldn't finish his project for tonight's competition. So we just want to thank him. And, you know, Mike DiMaggio is really big on giving plaques. We've even gone to the point where we call him now Plaque Man or the Prince of Plaques or whatever he likes to. But I wanted to beat him to the punch. Now, he also knows that any chance there is for me to do something electronically rather than with metal or wood, I will do it. So I actually created a certificate of appreciation that reads, Mike DiMaggio, in recognition for all his tireless efforts in support of the Guild of New Hampshire Woodworkers over the years. So, Mike, I'm going to award this to you. Give him another hand. Come on. All right, let's get on with the show. This person really needs no introduction. He is like the celebrity of woodworking these days. Tom McLaughlin apprenticed in the early 90s with master craftsman Pug Moore of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Most of you people know that story. His 30-year-plus career has built myriad of custom pieces of furniture for clients seeking to own pieces that are as much a work of art as they are functional. Tom can be seen on repeat episodes of hosting Classic Woodworking with Fine Woodworking on PBS TV, and he's a frequent contributor to Fine Woodworking magazine. As a 25-year member of New Hampshire Furniture Masters and former chairman, his work has become recognizable for its dramatic use of figured wood, creating a sense of movement in each piece. In 2016, Tom shifted his focus from commission work to teaching in his Epic Woodworking platform. He and his wife, Chris, the camera lady, created Epic Woodworking to help further the craft by providing instruction for all levels through online courses and in-shop classes at his shop in Canterbury, New Hampshire. They also offer a community membership experience called the Neighborwood, which together woodworkers from all over the world with goal of expanding skills and inspiring creativity. I look to him as a mentor, and I also consider him the master of all woodworking media. So now I introduce and welcome Tom McLaughlin to the stage.
Thank you so much for that warm greeting. I didn't realize I was the master of technology, but actually the camera lady is the master of all media technology. I just try to come up with content week after week, but thanks so much. Well, it's really an honor to do this again. This is the second annual, and I was privileged to have them ask me back. I guess I didn't screw it up too bad, but this is very different from last year. I'm kind of excited. I can see everybody. Last year we had a jet plane, like right here. We had people over there and everywhere. So it's just great to have this venue. So appreciate that as well. And I'm especially honored to just be involved in this beautiful craft with all of you. We're all at different stages of our experience and ages, and it's just a wonderful craft that never gets old to me, and I just hope I keep going and you keep coming along as we go along in these coming years. Well, as you heard, there's 142 pieces that were entered tonight. So that's good news and that's bad news. The bad news is there's not enough prizes to go around, and not everyone's going to get a prize. The good news is there's so many pieces that you could put the same one in next year and no one's going to notice. I used that joke last year, and it worked just as well. Stay tuned. I'm going to use it again next year. But it is great to see people of all ages here. It's so gratifying, and a lot of our audience in the Epic Woodworking platform, and I know the demographics for fine woodworking and tool sales are, the average age is about 65. So it's great to see a younger crowd involved. Maybe that's because at 65 you have more disposable income when you can buy tools, but it is nice to see that there's all ages here. To get philosophical for a minute, when I was young, if you asked someone what constituted a good life or what made for a life worth living, an older person might say something like, take less than you give. Leave the world a better place. We've all heard statements like that. And looking at around the room at all these beautiful objects, I can see that's exactly what's happening. We're all leaving the world a better place in that way. Thinking about these age differences here tonight, I was reminded of a series of paintings by an artist who was part of the Hudson Valley School of Art, Thomas Cole. In the mid-1800s, he did a series of 4 paintings that were called The Voyage of Life. 4 giant paintings, and they were kind of like an allegory, a spiritual allegory of the stages of life. And you have in this first painting, you have this little toddler in a boat emerging from a cave on this smooth water. And you can see that dawn is rising, and there's an angel in the back of the boat, and this little toddler is looking out on this lush green world. In the second painting, there's a young man, and now it's daylight, and he's on smooth water still, and he's looking out on the horizon, and over the horizon he sees this palace. It's a vision. You're not sure if it's real or it's just a dream, but he's leaning forward, leaning into it. And he has on the front of his boat an hourglass. And in the hourglass, you can see that about a third of the sand is down into the bottom of the glass. The first boat also had one, but it was just barely begun. In the third, there's an adult. It really represents adulthood. There's a man now, and he's actually appears to be on his knees because there's a threatening sky. There's rough waters. There's uncertainty all about this painting as he's entering this rough kind of time or this passage on this river. And the hourglass is now 2/3 gone. In the last painting is an old man, and he's in a boat, and now the angel has kind of returned to his boat and is kind of off to the side. And curiously, there's no hourglass. So you wonder, is he still with us? But he's looking up to the heavens, sort of like this glorious opening in the heavens, and moving forward into life. And you know, that's a more sobering series of paintings the older you get. And I realize I'm a lot closer to that fourth one. I'm in that fourth one. And, but I can relate to that third one pretty well too. We all remember those optimistic periods of youth where everything was ahead of us and dreams and visions of things to happen in the tough times in between. And for a lot of us, that kind of middle period, we lose that wonder of youth and maybe get beat down by the rough water a little bit as you go. And maybe we're tempted to recede, maybe there's been some bitterness out of that period, or to recede and to isolate. And that happens to a lot of men my age. I mean, I feel it. Your friend group shrinks, and you kind of get back. And it's a challenge to step out there and keep giving and going. And what's so great is when I look at the Guild, that's not what I see here. You are an amazing group. And I think of the Greek proverb that says, societies become great when old men plant trees in whose shade they know they will never sit. And that's what's happening. I love to see the younger people coming in, and I commend the Guild for their sharing, their inspiration, and the way they're adding so much beauty to the world through themselves and through their gifts of service. And this really, tonight, is more than a competition. It's actually a celebration. It's a celebration of art, of beauty, of time well spent as we all move on in our pursuit to leave this world a better place. So, thank you. All right, I want to introduce a special guy who needs no introduction because he was just introduced. He's the vice president of the Guild of New Hampshire Woodworkers. We know he's a tireless, generous giver and enthusiastic and accomplished craftsman. But one of the things he does on the side that you may not know is he loves to restore old tools and furniture and bring them back to life and share them with others generously. And he has a special something. I don't know what he's doing, but come on up, Mike. Mike DiMaggio.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for all being here. Without your support and assistance, we would not be able to put on a show of this magnitude. From the sponsors and craftspeople to the parents, we owe an eternal gratitude for your support and assistance. The reason I had asked to speak tonight was because I'm very invested in our Guild in Schools program. Whether it's started or not, I'm invested in it. And the reason I'm invested in it is because I see so much value in bringing to these young men and women the ability to be successful. As many of you know, being parents, everyone is not academically oriented. We are not all academicians. We are not all gifted in the arts. We all don't have the ability to do the things that school necessitates easily and with great facility. However, many of us who don't have those particular skills have other gifts. Woodworking is one of the arts that provides us with the ability to give a young man or a young woman a successful experience in life. I'm very invested in that. And to that end, I really appreciate all of your support and ongoing encouragement to make the programs that we have ongoing and more successful. I can't thank you all enough. My second reason for being here tonight is I have to give compliments to a man whose energy exceeds mine. He works tirelessly day and night for the benefit of our guild, thinking of new and innovative programs, troubleshooting various aspects of our very complex website situation, providing programs and initiatives beyond the imagination of anything I could have dreamed. And I know this because many of our conversations go into the night, into the next day. And he has an interminable amount of energy. And I know for a fact that he waits every year for me to present him with the annual plaque that I know he appreciates so much. However, this year I have duped him. In my bag, I do not have a plaque, but I do have something for him. And I want to say to our president, Elliot Savitsky, thank you so much for your efforts, for your heart, for your timeless energy, and for your willingness to give to the Guild and its membership and to the woodworking community in New Hampshire everything that you have. On behalf of all that he has done, and to not present him with another plaque that I know he has no wall space for, we will be presenting him with a new set of Narax chisels, the Richter chisels, that all of my friends rave about. Mr. Savitsky, can you please come this way? No problem.
I just hope you bought these at Highland Hardwoods.
Yes. Thank you all. Appreciate your time and have a wonderful evening. Thank you again.
As you've already heard, we have three very distinguished judges who took care of going through this really Herculean task of judging, can you imagine, 142 pieces and coming up with over 100 awards of all different types. So pretty amazing, and I just want to recognize the judges right now. They'll be up later at the end to give the final judges award and the best in show. But for their efforts, I just wanted to introduce them to you and recognize them. The first has been a woodworker and furniture maker for 40 years. He's a juried member of the League of New Hampshire Crafts for 35 years, and he's been a New Hampshire Furniture Masters member for 30 years, so quite experienced. He's been in publications many times like Arts and Antiques, Architectural Digest, and Fine Woodworking, and he also has pieces in the permanent collection of the Curry Museum. I'm talking about Ted Blachly. Stand up, Ted. Stand up. Thank you. Thank you, Ted. The next is an internationally known furniture maker, woodworker. For 5 decades, he's been at the craft. He's a prolific maker, well known for his exquisite details. He's an educator, a writer, and naturally a farmer. A farmer? Yes, he is. He's written 2 books, the hand plane book, the hand tool book. He's written countless articles for Fine Woodworking magazine over the past 30 years, and he's a contributing editor. And he's been a member of the New Hampshire Furniture Masters for 30 years, and as well as a former chairman. And I'm speaking of Garrett Hack. Stand up, Garrett. And the last I want to invite up after to say a couple words on behalf of the Furniture Masters. And he is a juried member of the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen, and obviously the current chairman of the New Hampshire Furniture Masters, and he's doing a great job. I've admired his work, and we've had several conversations about technique and curiosity, you know, I have about learning new things. He's an outstanding craftsman. He's been featured numerous times in Fine Woodworking magazine, as well as New Hampshire Home. I'm talking about Owain Harris. Come on up, Owain.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you to everybody for being here, and in particular, everybody who entered a piece. I mean, this is now the second time I've had the honor of and privilege of being a judge in this competition, and it's just amazing to see all of the work that's on display here, and it makes our job very difficult to have to weed through it all. And in particular, it's really inspiring to see all of the student work. I know that's been commented on already, but I will continue to talk about that because it really is genuinely amazing to see it all. And as Tom mentioned, I'm currently the chair of the New Hampshire Furniture Masters. Many of you are probably familiar with the organization, but for those of you who maybe aren't, we're a group of furniture makers dedicated to advancing and continuing the profession of furniture making in New England. And we have just launched our 30th anniversary. So starting, well, actually it just officially started a couple weeks ago at the New Hampshire Historical Society, but continuing through all of next year, we'll be celebrating 30 years of the New Hampshire Furniture Masters. And as chair, it's really important to me that that is a celebration not just of all of the incredible accomplishments over those 30 years, but that we're also looking to the future of what it means to be a professional furniture maker. And so seeing this student work and the next generation of makers is really incredible, and people that we will be keeping an eye on for sure. So, but Elliot really just kind of very kindly offered me the opportunity to just let you know about a few things that are coming up for our 30th anniversary. So I'm going to pull this out of my pocket here so that I don't get the dates wrong, because that's important. Starting on November 29th, we will be showing work at the Portsmouth Historical Society. That's running through December 31st. The opening reception for that, I believe, is December 19th, I want to say. But there's some brochures over there that has a schedule of our events for the remainder of the year. And next year, we'll be having a series of events leading up to an exhibition of new work at the Curry Museum of Art in Manchester. So please keep an eye on that. And with that, I will get down so we can continue with the show. Thank you so much.
All right, we have a special treat for you before we get to the awards section, and that we have 2 special keynote speakers, and who are promised they're going to keep it under an hour each, so you'll be good. The first is just kidding, it's a fraction of that. All right. The first is a has been a professional full-time woodworker for nearly 5 decades. He was the recipient of the 2012 Cartouche Award given by the Society of American Period Furniture Makers. He began woodworking in his teens, and by age 19, he had a position working in the Museum of Fine Arts Restoration Department. He's most well known, and I read this story in the early 90s, this is the first I ever heard of him, of his reproducing the Nicholas Brown Newport desk. He reproduced it before the Brown family sold the desk for a mere $12.1 million. He didn't get quite that much for his reproduction, but we can dream. He's a world-class cabinet maker, chair maker, and carver, and he offers classes, even, believe it or not, at his school called the Allan Breed School of Woodworking. Yes, it's Allan Breed. Come on up, Allan.
So the good news, Tom, about your allegory with the boat, when the one with no time left comes in, there are going to be some really good yard sales. So you don't want to be on that first boat. You want to catch one of the later ones. It's really great to see so many young people getting started in woodworking. You know, a lot of us, you know, we were young in woodworkers one time too, believe it or not. And, you know, why do we do this? I was thinking about what to talk about, and, you know, you look at all these happy people, and what makes us so happy? You know, one of them is it's really fun to make stuff. And, you know, I've had people that I've taught who worked in corporate or just desk jobs for decades, and the one thing they would always say is, boy, I wish I'd left that sooner and started doing this woodworking stuff, because it's a lot more relaxing, a lot less stressful, and, you know, really fun. So, I mean, I think that getting some young people to start it and realize that it's really rewarding to take a, you know, plank of wood and turn it into a chair. And the first time I ever did that, I was a student here at UNH. And I think it was the only class I ever flunked. I was supposed to finish something at the end of the semester, and I don't think I finished it. But other than that, I was a pretty good student. So I'd like to talk about chairs, because I started out, the first big, quote, big project I had was I had to make 4 Chippendale chairs, because the dinner party I was at, a gentleman sat in a Victorian parlor chair and it just exploded. And he ended up on the floor. And they said, you know, oh, what happened to that? And I said, you should make some chairs like this, because they had an old Chippendale chair there. So that was my first chair making job ever, to make 4 Chippendale chairs. But I put this slide first because you can make chairs out of boards. They don't have to be exotic. They don't have to be really, you know, detailed, technically perfect. This is a copy of a child's chair from probably about 1730. And this is one that I made for our kids. And you realize they only get used for a couple of years because they grow out of them right away. But I really wanted to just make a chair out of some boards, some pine boards, and paint it. Because I think part of the interest from me in woodworking is to take wood and turn it into something that doesn't look like wood anymore. I mean, there are gorgeous species of wood, and of course we're going to use those in some things, but I really like the idea of making a simple piece with simple materials. Paint it a color, go crazy, do whatever you want. You know, it's just a good start, I guess I'd say. This is a chair that I made using wet-dry construction. So the posts were wet when I turned them, and the stretchers were dry, and I made them even drier by made a little rack over the wood stove. So I shrunk those stretchers down. You bore the hole really tight, and you pound them in, and the moisture from the leg transfers to the tenon, and you get a really tight joint. So this was a copy of an early chair that I made for our daughter Johanna when she was a little baby. And the top splat, as you notice, is parallel-sided. It doesn't have that nice decoration. Is that the pointer? Nope. Is that the pointer? Yep. So the top rail, see how it's flat? Why do you think it's flat? Exactly, it broke. You see so many chairs from this early period with one of those top splats. When that thing tips over once, it cracks the top off. And so she used it for, we went through 3 kids with this chair, and I never put it back because I figured it would just get broken again anyway. But again, I'm using paint and using a traditional design. That's a rush seat in there. But this stuff holds up if you take care of it. But so this was a little bit more refined example than the previous one, but still very basic bit of woodworking. You know, you can do some turning, you can do some bending, whatever. This is racking it up a little bit here. This is a copy of a Gaines chair, called a Gaines chair because John Gaines made them in Portsmouth in about 1720. And it's a really spectacular chair. They did some very subtle things. The front legs are not perpendicular to the floor. They rake out a little bit, and it gives it such a stance. I mean, they say the Gaines chairs look like they're about to walk across the floor. They have this sort of life to them. And so I copied some of those. Those are also from a historic house in Portsmouth. And wonderful carving, wonderful turning, hideous joinery. I measured, there were 4 of them in the Warner House in Portsmouth. And I went and measured one. And just for the heck of it, once I'd cut the pattern for the back leg out, I went and put it against another one of the chairs in the set. Didn't even match. And then the front rail on one of them was sticking out. On one of them, it was dropped behind the leg. On one of them, it was flush. It was, I don't know, I'm not quite sure who did what, but whoever did the joinery was not the best. But these chairs, again, they were painted to imitate another wood. They're made out of maple. You know, don't be afraid of paint. It's okay to paint stuff. You can do, there's some wild and crazy painted furniture out there. And this is pretty restrained, but it's got some really great carving, very unusual. This is, again, all maple. I should talk a little bit about finish, maybe. I think most people hate to do finishing. Am I in the ballpark? Is finishing your favorite thing? Yeah, see, nobody raised their hands. Okay, good. It's nobody's favorite thing. But sometimes you have to match things and you want a certain look. And so I would just mess around with stains and glazes and paints. And I got this one. This was one of my first ones I considered a real good success because it really looked like the old ones. And fun to carve, really basic, but just real transition between the early carved chairs and the more refined, like Chippendale and Queen Anne chairs. It's a real transitional piece, and very rare. I think they sold, and I think they brought 160,000. And I don't know if that was a piece or for the set, but they very desirable thing, and just because it's got that certain style to it. This was the first chair, join chair that I ever made. This is a copy of some North Shore, Massachusetts chairs. Check my time so Elliot doesn't get mad at me. Okay, good. This is made out of birch, yellow birch, because it looks like mahogany when you stain it. It's got a grain pattern that's really similar. And so if you use it, you can make it look like an expensive wood chair when it's a cheap wood chair. And they did that a lot. They did that with poplar. You can go into like a Victorian hotel, go in the elevator, and it'll be paneled in poplar that's stained to look like walnut. It's just, it works great. It's a third of the price, and it's plenty strong. So this project caused me to buy my first Starrett protractor, because with chairs, you know, there's 82 degrees, there's a couple of degrees, nothing's really 90 degrees. So I quickly realized that I needed a one of those Starrett protractors with the blade that slides right down the middle so you can move it to one side or the other. So I use that to make my chairs. I made all the joints by hand and pinned them and had the seats done over in Gardner, Massachusetts, which was called Chair City. And that's where all the good chair rush seat guys were. And so that's where I got that done. But it was my first real revelation into making something that I'd looked at my whole life but never thought about making, and then actually copying it and making it myself and having it come out just like the old one. And so that's really how I learned cabinet making. The two most common questions people ask me is, where did you learn? And, well, let's start with that one. Where did you learn? And for me, it's just by studying old stuff, by taking things apart, and just when you take things apart to fix them, you learn what failed, and you learn what works, and you learn what the tolerances were. I have an X-ray of the original that I copied. I took it to a radiologist friend of mine, and I said, here, I want you to X-ray the crest, because I was curious as to how neat, how sloppy they were, And he got me this X-ray, and there was all kinds of, chips stuck in the bottom and air above the tenons, and I was like, oh, okay, phew, I did it. I did it pretty close to the original. But and the other question, it's basically sort of the same question, but how did you learn? Well, I learned from the old guys. I learned from people that have been dead for 200 years, and I learned by saying yes to no matter what somebody asked me to make. And so, my first set of chairs, they said, could you make us some chairs? And I said, yes. And I'd never made a chair before. And I've been doing that for almost 50 years, just saying yes, painting yourself into a corner and then figuring out how to get out. It's a really good incentive when you have a deposit and you told someone you could do it and you've never done it before. So I did, it's a little bit of a tightrope walk, but I find for me, for my temperament, it's a good way to get things done because I know that I can figure it out. People also ask me, why do you do this? It's because it's relaxing, it's fun, and you can learn a ton just by being a really close observer. I've helped a lot of people decide whether furniture they were going to buy at auction was either real, faked, or improved, or whatever. And you really have to be a detective, and it's really fun. You literally have a magnifying glass. And so that's how I learned to do what I do, just by learning from people that are long gone. Sometimes you feel like they're just whispering over your shoulder. There's a black one. Again, my love for paint. That one, those are in Strawberry Bank somewhere. Basically the same chair as the previous one, just painted. Strangely enough, I never thought I'd make a shaker chair. And it's not because I don't like shaker furniture, but I'm not known for that. There are a lot of people out there doing it. And so I never even thought about making it. I like them, they're comfortable. But then I got an order for 9 of them from one of the Rockefeller families. And they're really cool chairs. It's all turned, and it's really simple, it's really light, you can see through it. They're strong, and they're just elegant. And so I really had a great time making them. And it's a little trickier than I thought. You've got to make all kinds of little cradles so you can bore things at the right angle and everything works out. But I loved making that, and I still have one. I think I made 11, and they wanted 9. Don't ask me why they wanted 9, but maybe they had just one. But anyway, cool chairs, very comfortable, and they tip back. It's almost scary how much they tip back. When you go to sit and you think, this isn't going to tip over, is it? But they're elegant, very elegant. This happens to be another Portsmouth chair, made by a guy named Langley Boardman. And this is a cool chair. Federal chairs are a great canvas to do wonderful veneer work on. And some of the joinery is really cool. Some of them are not strong at all. I'll show you a picture of one of those. This one happens to be pretty rugged for a federal chair. And it's got some great tiger maple inlay, or really just veneering over. And that's a horsehair seat, which is like Kevlar. It's amazing stuff. And so I made a dozen of those. And then, strangely enough, the person I made them for kind of went bankrupt, and I bought them all back. Then I sold them again. So this is the federal chair that you really just want to look at. It's great to look at, fun to make, but difficult to make. This joint down here is a sliding dovetail, and then over it there's a basket of fruit carved and glued on. And these swags are draped from corner to this central motif, and they always break right there, of course. It's short grain, it's going to break. You can't sit in these chairs. These chairs are for looking at. That's the other thing. Some chairs are more art than practical, but that's okay. And so I made a dozen of these too. No, I made 14. And so I figured it out. But this is the fanciest federal chair. It's almost the fanciest federal chair that there is. But it's right, if not it's right up there. Made by McIntyre in Salem. All mahogany except birch rails. Oh, wrong one. Yeah, look at that, huh? I actually made that at UNH in 1976. I just wanted to take a three-legged table, like a tripod table, and make a variation on it. And my kids call this the Tim Burton table because it looks like it's going to sort of walk around on you. It's about 3 feet high, and it's all made out of pine. And I've fixed it several times. And it's painted to look like rosewood. So I got away with faking it and making it look like something else. All right, I've got 1 minute left. That chair is the first thing I ever designed, first chair I ever designed. I did that at UNH as a project in my furniture course here. And I liked the curve of the seat. So I made that, and all those little slats are on edge. They're like 1/4 by 1 inch pieces of cherry, all lined up on edge. And so they're strong. And then they're set in this frame, which I can't say too much about the strength of that, but that was something that I executed from drawing to finished product. And that is absolutely the first chair I ever made. It unfortunately lives in our attic. I took it down to take this picture last week, and it was just covered in 40 years of just attic. And I scrubbed it off and took a picture of it, but I did some nice little details like, oops. No, anyway, take my word for it. It was really dirty because I'm afraid to sit in it, because side to side, it wouldn't do well. We're good. Thank you very much.
Oh, that was great. Thank you, Allan. Our second keynote speaker started out as a cabinet and furniture maker in New York City. And in 2001, he turned his attention to a concentration in making chairs from green wood. He's a maker, a tool designer, a teacher, and a writer. He wrote a beautiful book, which he illustrated himself, called The Cabinet Makers. I'm sorry, The Cabinet Makers. That's a Crenovian slip. Called The Chairmaker's Notebook in 2015. Chairmaker's Notebook. You want to check that out. He's written numerous articles for Fine Woodworking, and he's currently exhausted converting a barn where he will be making chairs and teaching chair making. So keep your eye out for that. Welcome, Peter Galbert.
thank you very much. It's really nice to be here, and congratulations to everyone who put your pieces in the competition. They look fantastic. It's really something not just to make something, but then to put yourself out there and show to other people. I think that's one of those cringy moments that we all have, where you can make something and you have a very deep relationship with it, and then to put it out with the public, that's a whole nother level of exposure. So congratulations on that. And I also really want to thank the Guild. We talked a little bit about my good friend Joel and his accident this last April, and that was a really tough time. And I just knew that when Joel needed help, which is really hard, I don't know if a lot of y'all know Joel, but a lot of y'all don't. But the thing about Joel is, when someone heard that he was hurt, they always had the same response. Well, who was he helping? Because that's what you just knew was going on. And sure enough, he was helping somebody. And, a bad accident happened. And I knew that Joel needed help, and it was more than I could do or any one person could do. So I turned to Elliot, and I asked Elliot, what can we do for Joel? What could y'all do for Joel? And you showed up, and you showed up big. And I'll never forget it, and I know Joel won't either. So I just want to say thank you very much for that. That was a wonderful thing. So Elliot asked me to do this talk a while back. He didn't tell me I'd be following Al, of course. But he asked me to do this a while back, and he was mentioning how many young people were going to be contributing pieces to this. And I was pretty excited about that, because I'm very interested, obviously, and I've seen over the last 20 years that I've been teaching, a lot more young people getting involved. When I started teaching, and I was teaching in 2002 or whatever, everybody was 65 and up. That's just all there was in my classes. It was a bunch of white 65-year-old men, and that's who we were. And then over the last 20 years, I've really seen it change. I had a class recently that was 4 out of 5 were women. I have classes of all sorts of different age groups. It's just really wonderful. I think the internet has done a wonderful thing in helping us spread, interest in this field and in this pursuit. And so I think it's just great to see everybody coming in on it. And so I've been thinking about it ever since Elliot asked me to do this. I could not stop thinking about it. Like, what do you say about getting into this field? If you're young and you're interested in getting into it. It's just been nagging at me for months. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I really have no idea what to say. I really don't. I think the older I get, the more specific my own career and path takes. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. When I started getting into it, it was back when all you had was a fine woodworking magazine. And if you wanted to, have a question about, woodworking, you didn't go on the internet. You wrote a letter to David Sawyer, and, a month later, David Sawyer would write you back. And that's how you got information, and that's how these things flowed. And so I think we're in kind of a golden era for this, because the information is so readily available, and the communication is so readily available. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more when I show you a couple slides about some things that I think are pretty fantastic for young folks. So I think the avenues are absolutely open to you to do whatever you want with this field. I think it's pretty wide open, and I've seen some people do things that have just shown me how little I actually know anymore about what's actually possible. So I don't think I'm an expert on what's going forward, but I'll tell you a little bit about how I got where I am. So here's some stuff I made. This was the first chair I made. This was I was copying a picture from a magazine, a very short-lived magazine called Fine Furniture, I think it was. And that was a copy of a Curtis Buchanan chair. And I was working as a cabinet and furniture maker in New York, and honestly, I just wasn't very good at it. I think 90 degrees is sort of tyrannical. There's 89 other degrees, okay? Why aren't we using them, okay? What's with this obsession with this one angle? If you don't hit it, everything's off. I couldn't abide. And, it's funny because Al was talking a minute ago, and like I said, I haven't really known what to say, but Al really hit it, and temperament is what it comes down to. And it took me a while to sort of find my temperament and the kind of things that I wanted to make. And when I saw making chairs this way, I was like, really? I mean, when I told my mother I was doing this, she was like, are you allowed to do that? And I was like, I think you are. I think it's going to be okay. You can take a log and split it up and make a chair, honestly. And 90 degrees has nothing to do with it. So this was the first chair I made. No one told me that it was one of the hardest ones you could make. I learned that later after I solved all the problems in it, but that's when I also learned that I had a bit of a knack for this, as well as really just a deep interest. And so after I made this one, I just started looking into all the different older styles that there were, because what I was interested in wasn't a design style, it was a technology. It was a technology that allowed me to feel like a kid playing in the workshop. And I think that's one of the things that if I was to advise you as someone getting into the field, it's you've got to make it play. The minute it becomes work and just work, it's a bad job. If you want a job, there's so many good jobs. Carpet cleaning is such a good job. Carpets get dirty all the time. People need them cleaned. It's such a good way to make a living, okay? But if you're not having fun at woodworking, it's just not going to work for you. You've really got to find that sweet spot for yourself. So it was in this sort of technology that I really had a lot of fun. It's all handwork. It's just me in a quiet little shop with some hand tools making stuff. And I just kept exploring some of these older forms, all the while knowing that I wasn't really as interested in them, visually, even though I came to respect what you could do with these. These chairs are incredibly light and durable and comfortable, and you can make them really rapidly. And so I just kept going with these. These are just more traditional chairs. And you can see how sculptural they are. It's somehow, you don't look at that and first go, oh, I can see the board that came out of. That isn't the first thing that jumps to your mind, and that's what really intrigued me, is like it seemed like alchemy. You're just really transforming these materials, straight from a log into a piece that goes into a chair, and it can happen in a few minutes. And here's some carving. I just knew Al was going in front of me, so I was like, okay, I got to show some carving. And then I started getting a little bit more interested in, what could I do with this? Once I started to feel, this was probably about 8 or 9 years in, where I was like, okay, I think I kind of got this. I think I can see, I have a real vision of what it takes to start a chair and take it all the way through. And then I started looking into more what could I do with it that was more interesting? And John Binzen, actually, from Fine Woodworking, he told me that there was a show coming up, and he said, do you want to put a piece in? I said, great, I'd love to. And just like Al was saying, I just committed myself. I just overcommitted. I said, yep, I've got a drawing on a napkin, and that's what I'm going to build for you. And then, sure enough, this is a piece that I built for that. And I really loved making this one. And it didn't last but a few minutes at the show, which was great, because I needed the money desperately, which is another thing you should get used to if you're going to go into this. But my real obsession, I guess, if I had to admit it, would be rocking chairs. For some reason, I'm just fascinated by these chairs because I find them really comfortable. And the technology in them isn't just the technology of building a chair, but it's a kinetic chair. And it's a kinetic chair that has to work with the human body. And it's a kinetic chair that has to work with the human body, and you want it in your living room. So there's all these different things you have to think about with it. And it's endless. It seems like it's like chess. There is no solution. It's an endless problem. And I found over the years that for me, endless problems are basically my favorite way of being. I just noticed I can see this down here, so I'll stop turning my head and talking and making your sound terrible. Okay, so here's another rocking chair, and I just can't stop making them. And you'll notice, just like Al was saying, I do a lot of painted work, and that was so liberating. Once I could see the wood for just pure form, and I wasn't just looking at surface and distracted by surface, all of a sudden I learned so much about shape and the power of shape. And then years later, when I decided, well, what would I do if I didn't paint a chair? How do you make a chair that isn't painted? I didn't even know where to begin. And it was a really fun exploration to start to play with, what you could do with unpainted work. And so I just kept making sculptural stuff. Now my work, it looks much simpler than this. I've learned a lot to take away. Less is definitely more, almost all the time. Now this is a fun one because this piece where you see these beautiful medullary rays on the front surface of this rocker, a lot of people walk up and they're like, oh, you found a really nice board that had nice rays. You're at the lumberyard and you're going through and you're trying to find the right board. Once you learn how to split logs and make chairs, the rays are exactly where you want them to be every time. You just make them there. You just split the wood where they are. And then you can play with them almost like you're painting. And their reaction to the shaping that you make is really dynamic. And so I thought I'd show you this because I started out in drawing, painting, and sculpture. And so this really started to be like, okay, I'm finding a really fun thing here now with this wood that I can manipulate and actually control what's happening on the surface a little bit more. And here's just some more shapeliness happening in these rockers. And on the seat, that's a big old piece of butternut. Hard to find that these days. And then, as Tom was mentioning, I got to combine what I loved, which is drawing. That's where I started as a kid. I just always drew. I was always making things, but I was drawing things. So these are just some images from that book. I got to spend 5 years on this book. I'm working on volume 2 now. So I'm already 3 years late on that. So I'm thinking this one might be a 7-year project, but just getting to sit and draw these things and think about what I'd done the previous 15 years, well, actually 10 to 15 years, was a really cathartic experience and a lot of fun. And this is a little picture of everything you need in a workshop to make a chair. Actually probably a few things you don't need. And then this one is all the tools that you need. That's it. They fit in a box, and it's just fantastic. It's such a simple application of the process of metal cuts wood. That adds up to a chair somehow. It's just amazing. Still to this day, I love that simplicity. And this is sort of a throwback to more traditional work, but this is a piece I made with my friend Aspen Golan, who is someone who I was going to mention to anyone who's younger and looking into getting into this. She is someone who I mentored and have worked with on collaborative work in the past, including this piece. And she has forged a career like no other. She has just rocketed herself through charisma, talent, and hard work, and an awareness of what you can do now. So if you want to talk to somebody about what to do now, look at Aspen Golan's work. So she got this job. I didn't get this job. She got this job. It was a great job from these people in Nantucket. They gave us a curved wall. So they said, here's the curve and the word Nantucket, and said, make us a piece. And so this is what we came up with. And here you can see the curve. And I did the turnings, and Aspen did the carvings. She's an exceptional carver. And we had a lot of fun doing it. And I thought you might enjoy seeing just a couple of pieces about how it comes together. This is really my sweet spot. My temperament is right here. When I'm doing mock-ups, when I've got plywood and spring clamps and tape and string, I could be no happier. This is the most exciting part of a piece. By the time it's done, I'm done with it. But this part is just all promise. I just love this part of a process. That's the bend. We use the actual back of the seat as the bending form for the crest. So we cut the seat, bent the crest around it, and then once it dried a little bit, we made some clamps, some places to hang it on the wall and hung it on the wall. Here's Aspen right there. She's flattening the seat. It was about 3 inches thick, and we had to get it down to 1 3/4 inches. So I really Tom Sawyered her into being like, learning to hand plane this is going to be really good for you. Yeah, she fell for it. It was great. And you can see her wonderful carvings there. She did those arms, too, just straight out of North Bennett Street. She was just an exceptional maker. And so there's just another couple little process shots of it. It was a fun piece. I'm excited. I can't tell you who it's for right now because they haven't announced it, but we just signed on to do another really nice commission together, and I can't wait because collaborative work is one of the best parts about making things, and I'm going to get into that in a second. This is some more current work. I call this my temple chair. This one I have a video series coming out on and plans for. This is just a really fun, quick chair to make. That's in walnut. I don't often work in walnut. It makes me sneeze, but it's nice stuff. And there's my dog, of course, and a little stool that I make. And this is another current piece. This is my Helix chair. And that one just started with me fumbling around with bends, seeing what can this wood do? I've made green wood do all sorts of things. It's been very agreeable. And I was like, what if I twisted it too? And then could you sit in it? Would it work? And it's funny, one of my favorite things about this one is that people always sit down in it and are surprised that it's actually also comfortable because it defies it. And there's a certain psychological thing that happens with chairs. Some chairs sort of threaten you to sit down. Like I dare you, like Al was saying. You look at some of those federal chairs and you're like, I don't dare sit in it. I used to have to bring a sign, actually, to some of my shows that said, please sit, because people didn't think that I had the authority to tell them they could sit in my own chairs. But if the sign said, please sit, well, then of course you can sit. And they would quite comfortably sit down. And I also do some tools. That's been a wonderful thing. One of the things that I found really essential to keeping my own interest in this going over the years is to have a lot of different things going on. I love to draw. I love to write. I love making tools. I think anybody, actually I just did a thing on my Substack about this. Anybody should make a tool. I don't care what tool it is. Make a tool, and once you use it, you'll go to the other side of the mirror. You really do. From then on, you'll see the way that these things that we love to do are from the perspective of the toolmaker, and then everything becomes more malleable. And one of my goals is to make my entire workshop a much more malleable place. And so tool making has always been a big part of what I do. So I have like 5 or 6 tools I make, and I've contributed to a bunch of others. And it's always a fun thing. Nothing like seeing a tool come to use. Now, the other thing I'm doing that I think is just my favorite part in my future, really, and it has been for like the past 5 years, is I've been building up this little school that basically I just almost rent it out to people just to use. And the people who are using it are my heroes. So I've got Dave Fisher. I've got Andy Glenn. He just wrote a wonderful book with Lost Art Press. Peter Follansby. Tim Manny. Yep. And Bern Chanley's going to be here from next week. Next week he's going to be here for about a month from Australia. And what I love about this is what we've been talking about here all night, which is this community. It's one thing to be alone in your shop, and I'm very much an introvert. I don't do this very often. And I like being alone in my shop. I like those quiet moments. You probably do too, or you wouldn't be here. I always think it's funny when groups of woodworkers get together. It's just a bunch of introverts walking around sort of nodding, you know? But it's just so great when we all get together and share. This is really when the magic happens for me. And I've gotten this wonderful community over these years. So this is one of my big focuses. And my retirement plan is to keel over at my workbench. So, hopefully I'll have some of these good friends around when I do. And this is where it's all going to happen. This is the barn on my property that we're renovating right now. It's 4,000 square feet with lofts above it. So it's way more space than you need to make a chair. Like I said, the chair shop I started in was about 12 by 12 feet, which was the whole idea. But if I want to have all these wonderful people come and teach, it makes sense to have a nice, big, beautiful space. And that's what I'm working towards. And I appreciate y'all being here tonight. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Peter. Inspiring. Okay, the way this is going to work is we're going to go through the different categories of awards, and I will go from third to first place. And I'm just going to first announce the prize and then the winner. So you will see the image of the piece on the screen. I'm not going to talk about the pieces, but you'll be able to see it and appreciate the award. And near the end, I'll invite the judges up for the Judges Awards, the 3 Judges Awards, and the Best in Show. Actually, I'm going to award those and then invite them up to talk about why they chose those. Okay. All right. So let's see how this works. This category is for elementary school students. And we don't have a third place award. This is one of the only categories. So this is the second place award winner, winning from Mike DiMaggio a set of 6 Craftsman restored chisels. And that award goes, as you can see, to Simeon Sukup. And the first place winner in elementary school students is going to get a vintage tool shop. Oh, sorry. No, they're not. From Vintage Tool Shop, they're going to get a number 3 Stanley plane. Just keeping you on your toes. And the first place winner is Jace Christopher. All right, we're moving on up to middle school. And the third place winner will receive from Mike DiMaggio a number 4 Stanley restored plane. And that third place winner is Owen Greenrod. Second place will also get a number 4 Stanley restored plane by Mike DiMaggio. And that second place winner is, you recognize this name, Samuel Sukup, the brother of Simeon, I'm assuming. And we have the first place award winner for the middle school will receive the Roar Rocket vacuum kit to make a street deck double skateboard, right? Okay. All right. And the winner of first place in middle school is Michael Franta. Congratulations, all. I actually saw you win that. That was good. All right. Now we're moving up to the high schoolers. And the winner, this third place in the high school category from Vintage Tool Shop will win a vintage tool kit. These are quite nice if you saw these prizes back here. Really incredible prizes. And that third place winner is Dimitri Smith. Also winning from Vintage Tool Shop, a vintage toolkit for second place is Sophia Chester. And the first place winner in the high school category from Vintage Tool Shop will win a deluxe vintage toolkit and toolbox. Very cool back there. And that first place winner is Anderson Dalton. Congratulations. All right, moving up to the college and post-high school category, we have the third place winner winning a number 4 Stanley Restored Plane by Mike DiMaggio. Notice a trend here. And that third place winner of the number 4 plane is Josephine Crotty. And in second place, winning from Bits and Bits, a $150 gift certificate is Kate Keefe. And first place in the college and post-high school category, also winning a $150 gift certificate from from Bits and Bits is Gabriella Krinigan. Congratulations. Okay, moving to the category of decorative technical detail. The third place winner, winning a Freud quadra-cut roundover bit, and also 8 Milwaukee clamps from FW Webb. The prizes are just getting crazy. Third place is Joe Sonner. Second place in the decorative and technical detail category, winning a 404 compact router bit set from Whiteside and 8 Milwaukee clamps from FW Webb is Joe Ullman. And first place in the decorative technical detail will be winning a set of 13 setup blocks from Woodpeckers and from Freud, the shaker rail and style router bit set. And that first place winner is Claude Dupuis. Congratulations, everyone in that category. And next category is carving. In third place in the carving category, they will be winning the Milwaukee Tools Deep Organizer. That's what we all need, deep organizing. From FW Webb, and also from Heritage Finishes, they will get a $50 gift certificate from their bookstore. And the third place winner is Robin Patton. And in second place in the carving category, winning a set of scalpels and blades from Cincinnati Surgical is Marcus Farrell. Whoops, sorry. My bad. Oh my. Marcus Farrell. Give him a little extra screen time there. All right. All right, in first place in the carving category, winning the Power Carving Kit from Fordham Tools is Joe Marshall. Now we're moving to the turning between centers category, and we have in third place, winning the 12-inch T-square, as well as 8 Milwaukee clamps from FW Webb, it's Jim Forbes. Jim's got a fan club. In second place in the turning between centers category, winning from Milwaukee Tools, a rolling pack out toolbox, and from McFeely's, a quart of polyurethane extreme protection. That second place winner is Donald Lowe. And the first place winner in the turning between centers category will win a crosscut saw blade from Freud and a set of 5 Japanese restored chisels from, guess who? Mike DiMaggio. I'm going to have you all say that next time I point. That first place winner is Edward Marks. Beautiful, and congratulations in that category. Next up is the bowl turning category, and the third place winner will be receiving a 10-inch saw blade thin kerf from Freud. That's pretty nice. And that winner is James Wood. In second place in the bowl turning category, winning a glue line ripping saw blade, also from Freud, as well as an adjustable tongue and groove router bit set from Freud. But wait, there's more. From McFeely, what is this? Point of its notch. Oh, it's not shellac. A pint of it's not shellac. I knew I should have worn my glasses. All right. Pint of it's not shellac. And that winner, the second place winner, is Joel Skews. All right, and the first place winner also picking up 3 items. The first is a rolling pack-out toolbox from Milwaukee Tools, a 10-inch saw blade from Freud, and a marking knife from Woodpecker. That first place winner is Ron Marcoux. Congratulations, all in the bowl turning category. Now we're turning to the, no pun intended, the professional category. And we have in third place, the winner will receive the adjustable tenon rail and style router bit set from Freud, as well as from Heritage Finishes, a demo kit. That winner is Paul DeGarlo. And the second place in the professional category will be winning a, did I see that right? Wow. A $350 gift certificate from Bits and Bits. You get a lot of bits. Second place is William Taylor. And first place winner will also be winning a $350 gift certificate from Bits and Bits, as well as a Japanese plane from Homestead School. And that first place winner is Joshua LaRose. All right, congratulations. Now we're moving to the amateur category. And in third place, winning a 2-drawer pack-out toolbox from Milwaukee Tools, as well as a 10-inch saw blade from Freud, is Nat Balsh. And in second place, winning a $250 gift certificate from Bits and Bits, as well as a Japanese plane from Homestead School, is Stan Paris. And the first place winner in the amateur category will also be taking home a $250 gift certificate from Bits and Bits and a restored vintage Stanley number 3 plane by that first place winner, no relation, is Jim McLaughlin. Oh, look at that. A sign. Beautiful. Congratulations in that category. Now we're moving to the contemporary category. This is great. We're moving right along. This is the 31st, believe it or not. So this category, the contemporary category, the third place winner will be receiving a ripping saw blade from Freud and a heritage finishing demo kit. And the winner is James Gibbons. Beautiful. And in second place in the contemporary category, we'll be taking home a stacked dado set from Freud, as well as the demo kit from Heritage Finishing, is Bob Cooch. And in first place in the contemporary category, taking home a Ridge Carbide saw blade, a Japanese plane from Homestead, and a finishing demo kit from Heritage Finishing is Paul DiCarlo. Congratulations. All right, we have, moving on to the traditional category, we have the third place winner receiving an industrial ultimate cutoff blade from Freud. That winner is James Russell. The second place winner in the traditional category, taking home a dial dado blade set, as well as from Freud, as well as from Heritage Finishing, the demo kit, is Michelle Wong. And in first place in the traditional category, receiving a Ridge Carbide saw blade, the Japanese plane from Homestead, and a demo kit from Heritage Finishing is David Labrie. Beautiful work. All right, we are moving on to the original category. In the original category, we have our third place winner will be winning a box joint blade set from Freud, as well as a Heritage Finishing demo kit. And that winner in the original category is Steve Costain. And in second place, In the original category, they will be winning an indexable 12-inch double square from Woodworkers, as well as a demo kit from Heritage Finishing. And that second place winner is Gary Koenig. And the first place winner in the original category will take home a Ridge Carbide saw blade, a Japanese plane from Homestead, and a Heritage Finishing demo kit. And the first place winner is Bob LaCivita. Congratulations. Let me see here. Okay, we're on the last category. So these are the judges' awards. Why don't we have the judges come up to the podium? We've already introduced you. I'll just announce the piece, and then you can step up and say what it was about this particular piece as we go in order, okay? So we're going to begin with the Judges' Award given and awarded by Owain Harris. And yeah, and the winner of, that doesn't get you any inside points, inside chance. These are already decided. It's too late. But the winner of Owen's Judge Award will be receiving a Revolution miter gauge from SawStop, as well as the Heritage Finishing demo kit. And that winner of Owain Harris's Judge Award is David Foote.
So I think one of the things that a lot of people struggle with when they're designing work, and it's certainly something that I continue to struggle with, is this idea of scale and proportion. And I think what I really appreciated about that piece was that the proportions were just very elegant and dialed in, and things were scaled down in a manner that was very pleasing, and in addition to everything just being executed very well. And I just really like the design, the inlay design on the front. Just graphically worked very well. So that's why we picked that. I picked that one.
Okay, now we have Ted Blachly's Judge Award, and the winner of Ted's award will be receiving the number 62 low-angle block plane, as well as a $50 gift certificate from Heritage Finishes for their bookstore. And that winner of Ted's Judge Award is Ron L'Italian.
Yeah, I was really drawn to this piece because I think it's a possibility to exploit all the beautiful colors in wood in a quilt format. We often see veneer, the many veneers, used in furniture. But quilt design by itself is a pretty interesting field if you dig into it, and I think this is a really good example. And I think it's a good idea that can be used more and more. So that's it. Thank you.
I don't know if we're going to do this one. And the last of the Judges' Awards was given by Garrett Hack, and the winner of that award, there's no insider dealing here, of the micro jig taper jig, the winner is Ted Blachly.
I know it does sound like an inside job here, but when we were looking at all the pieces, I think Owen went over to that one and picked it up, and I said, that is a Ted Blachly. And that's important. If you can pick out somebody's style that it's that strong, that the pieces all sort of express that sort of personality that you have. This expresses Ted's personality. I love it. We weren't going to give it any awards because, one of the regular awards, because I don't think that was fair. But it has beautiful shaping, and it has a beautiful sense of the way the wood, using the wood. It seems simple, but it's not simple. That little crease is very, very difficult to do cleanly. So I think it deserves just to be acknowledged, and that's why we did this.
All right, we have now the final award, the Best in Show. Can we just give a round of applause for everyone before this? Great, great job. The winner of the Best in Show in the category will be receiving a Woodpecker's 12-inch square, as well as a Rikon lathe, as well as a number 3 restored Stanley plane from, doesn't get any better than this, and that winner is, congratulations, Michelle Wong.
I remember Michelle Wong did really, really well last year. This is an amazing piece. When we walked around and looked at the pieces, we right away said this is the Best in Show. It just stands out. It's over here in the corner if you haven't seen it. It just has amazing details. And as being a fine craftsman my whole life, I was amazed. There was nothing about it that I would criticize. There was no defects whatsoever. Every single line was crisp, consistent thickness. Every single piece of this was really, really professionally and perfectly done. We don't try to do perfect things, but this person, Michelle, did do, I think, a very close to a perfect piece. And I think she added some stuff that, or added specifically one element that I think is interesting and different, which is the raised reserve, you might call it, in the center of the apron. That's raised away from the rest of the wood, standing out. And traditionally craftsmen have done that with ovals and different kinds of things with inlay around it, but here she did this with this square form. So I think a good round of applause for her. It's an amazing piece.
Well, can you believe we got to the end? Congratulations to all you who won and who really you won by entering. As Peter said, it does take a risk. If this was the first time you ever put something out there that was near and dear to you, I hope you broke the ice and will do it again and again. And as for this event, I know the organizers, if we asked them right now, they would probably say, we're not doing it next year. But I trust we will do it next year. And I hope we'll see all of you then. So once again, thank you for everyone who contributed to this, and to you especially for being here and being such great supporters. Thank you, and have a good night.